It's all over, Tony.
Denver shifted his weight, trying to cut an imposing figure but settling for in charge. He eyed Tony Redgrave, who stood at the far end of the alley. His prey had a penchant for flamboyance, cloaking his red leather coat in enough silver ornamentation to deck out more than one Christmas tree. The charms and talismans jangled as Tony turned to face him.
Again? I'm so tired of this shtick. Change the channel, Mad Dog.
Denver's bristled. This was, in fact, the 99th time he had gone after Tony. Any ordinary gangster would have stopped by the 5th, 10th tops. But Denver's was nothing if not tenacious. He'd earned his street name for a reason.
I've got 40 men, and every one of them is armed to the teeth with military-issue stain makers. Today, you're gonna die.
Denver's, involuntarily, glances up towards the thick shadows that lined the alley's rooftops. 40 armed thugs. It would be like shooting fish in a barrel.
You've got brass ones, I'll give you that. You always manage to pull through, but I bet you've never had to eat this much lead before. Ready to kiss the moon goodbye?
The alley was still. Denver shifted his weight again, uncomfortable with the tension. He could feel sweat beading on his brow and hoped that the thugs on the rooftops didn't notice.
I'm sorry, were you talking to me?
Tony pretended to stifle a yawn.
Look, I haven't had much sleep lately. Can we make this quick?
Oh, you bastard.
Denver's glowered at Tony.
What's up with this guy? He's either got nerves of steel or a mental condition.
Either way, Denver's had enough.
You arrogant prick!
Hey, slow down with the insults. You might burst something.
Just die!
Denver's pulled his trigger, and 40 thugs followed suit. Hundreds of bullets volleyed towards Tony, kicking up a dust cloud that soon swallowed the alley. The gun sputtered out a few seconds later. Denver smacked his lips as his men lowered their spent weapons.
Yeah, maybe that shower woke you up.
Tony emerged from the dust, brushing off his jacket.
You know, I do have an appointment later.
Denver's found the clink of jewelry more annoying than the witty banter. He sucked in a lungful of air, getting ready to bellow.
What the hell? Do your job!
Oh wait, we're getting the hell out of here.
Oh, well, maybe I hired a bunch of crack shots. Or maybe you all just sneezed before you pulled the triggers. But I know one thing for certain. This bastard in a devil's coat is not unkillable!
Nobody could have survived that much lead. So why were his men lying in bloody heaps on the ground? Denver's gripped his pistol 98 times. And now, yet again, he was poised to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Red and silver flashed from the end of the alley, near the bodies of over half his men. The talismans jangled, and another thug sprawled on the pile. Denver's remaining men approached the dust cloud cautiously, wary of friendly fire. Denver's had no such compunction.
Like hell I'm letting you take this one, Tony!
He aimed at the melee and squeezed the trigger. The Mazda roared, and one of his men collapsed.
Oh, crap!
Denver's aimed again, squeezing off another round when he heard the metallic chime of Tony's jacket. Sweat poured off his forehead.
Aim for the jangle. Aim for the noise.
Silver flickered at the edge of his vision. Tony's hair was as ostentatious as the rest of his gear.
Got you now. We ain't making this a centennial anniversary.
Denver's fired 3 bullets in quick succession, leaving a final round in the chamber. His eyes darted around anxiously.
Are you pushing up daisies yet?
There was no answer. A light breeze dissipated the veil of smoke. 40 bodies lay soaked in red, but Denver's couldn't see a hint of silver. He stepped carefully through the corpses, looking for Tony.
He's gotta be one of these bodies. Gotta be. Just find the body, go home, and knock back a few drinks to celebrate.
His confidence returned. He could practically taste the celebratory cold beer running down his throat. Then, something caught his eye.
What? But you...
What are you trying to say, Mad Dog?
A gust of wind pushed the last of the dust out of the alley, brushing a strand of silver hair out of Tony's face.
You wanted the body? Here it is. It may not be dead, but you're the one who's looking a little pale.
He doesn't have a scratch on him.
His red coat was a different story, though. It was riddled with holes. Tony held a giant sword in front of him like it was a shield.
You freak!
Tony was nonplussed.
You were aiming for the jackpot. Wouldn't expect anything less from a former Olympic sharpshooter. Too bad you've gone soft.
Shut up!
He gestured with the Mauser.
My friend here's still got a few choice words.
Tony lowered his sword, further enraging Denver's.
Oh, good for you. Marks of a true professional.
Rage chased away the last of Denver's fear. He tightened his finger around the trigger.
I'm gonna shut that arrogant hole of yours for good! If you got anything else to say, now's the time.
I'm getting deja vu. Must be like the 97th time I've heard that now.
I said shut up!
Denver's pulled the trigger. The two were so close that even a blind man couldn't miss. He watched as the bullet tore into his adversary's face.
I did it!
Oh, really?
Denver stared, agape. Somehow, Tony was unscathed. He pressed the tip of his sword against Denver's throat.
How is that even possible?
Denver's had seen the bullet pierce the man's skull.
He's not freaking human.
Looks like I win again. The alley was a nice touch this time, but I gotta say, you're out of your league, pal.
Tony swiped the Mauser before sheathing his blade.
Nice piece. It's a bootleg, though. A real Mauser would have had the manufacturer's mark right here.
Tony traced a circle with his finger.
Oh well, I'll take it anyway. See you later, Mad Dog, and don't forget, our 101st anniversary's coming up.
Tony spun on his heels and marched off, leaving Denver's wobbling, speechless, and totally dumbfounded. Though at the last moment, he turned again.
Oh, almost forgot.
Tony eased out of his ragged coat.
Take this to Gail's shop and ask her to make me a new one. And, don't forget to tip her.
Why do I gotta be his errand boy?
Denver skulked down the sidewalk, still bitter about his defeat. It was almost morning. Soon the sun would rise and skulking would become more difficult, as Denver's didn't want to run into anyone he knew. He sneezed as he shuffled from building to building.
Damn. First I get iced and now I get a cold.
Denver sidled onto a road that led out of town. It wouldn't do to be seen in this state. Luckily, the banks of the former Daub River were devoid of people. He pulled a grubby handkerchief out of his pocket and trumpeted loudly. The wind picked up. Maybe it was the sweat, or maybe it was his fear of Tony. Either way, Denver's shivered. He slipped into the remains of the red coat, but the patchwork of the holes did little to warm him.
Better off throwing the damn thing away.
Denver's reflected.
Pete's paying for repairs.
But he had come this far. He may as well finish the route.
Still, guess a little break couldn't hurt.
Denver sat, threw the coat over his lap, and crossed his legs.
Damn him.
Denver's began to think aloud.
Ever since Tony came around, my luck's gone to crap.
All his men were dead, making Mad Dog a lone wolf.
99 frickin' times. My reputation's kaput.
Tony had drifted into town about 2 years prior, making short work of the underworld. Denver's wasn't the only gangster to feel the head, though. Drug dealers, arms dealers, human organ dealers, even illegal surgeons. Anyone working for the Mafia and its rival gangs had felt the sharp sting of Tony's meddling. Tony had rejected their overtures for peace. Any other mercenary would have taken the money, no questions asked. But not Tony. He did whatever he wanted, ignoring the local powers. Gangs who opposed him were utterly crushed, and with each defeat, Tony's reputation grew. Even worse, he'd started a trend. Other mercenaries cut ties with the underworld bosses, making their own bids for independence. It put the reputations of people like Denver's on the line, men who had come to power the old-fashioned way. Tony was threatening their entire way of life. And so, Denver's had decided to do something about it. 99 times now. There wouldn't be 100th, Denver's knew that. He had used up the last of his goodwill to find backing for the most recent attempt, hatching a meticulous plan and persuading old bosses to lend him money, muscle, and gear for the attack. Striking out had left Denver's with no friends and nowhere else to go. He had to keep his head down now. This wasn't a loss a man could just walk away from.
Damn it, damn it, damn it. I'm screwed.
Denver's lunged for his holster, but came up empty as Tony had taken the Mauser. The voice grew louder, echoing up the riverbed. Denver's eyes darted around. The call was coming closer. Whatever it was had multiplied. Denvers felt a new fear welling inside him.
Where the hell are they coming from?
The heavy clouds turned black and the sky grew darker.
How is that even possible? It's almost dawn! No, wait. That's not the sky.
It was everything, as if the whole world was being subtly rearranged. The eerie voices were nearly upon him, but Denvers could see nothing through the darkness. Suddenly, Denvers heard a footstep behind him. He whirred anxiously.
Who's there?
He was oddly comforted by the feeling he wasn't alone. Maybe it was Tony. And then he saw it. A scythe rapidly falling towards him, and slowly his vision fled away as he felt something tear into his flesh. Denvers tried to shout for help, but his voice didn't work anymore. Nothing worked anymore. Nothing but his nerve endings transmitting endless pain as he was hacked to bits. Denver screamed silently. Finally, day broke, but on the chapped embankment, Denver's body was nowhere to be found.